Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just 10 days away from its official release by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, as well as creator George Lucas. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 that a lot of fans are very intrigued about and very worried about is exactly how JJ is going to utilize all of the different twists and turns in this movie, and exactly how he's really going to attach the film to the prequels and the originals. Now, one thing is for certain is that we do know that Disney and Lucasfilm have gone through many different changes and adjustments throughout the months of August, September, and October to really restructure the entire plot of this movie and to make it cater to a general audience. Now, on top of all of this, Episode 9 is the true culmination of the Skywalker saga, and that J.J. Abrams has a plan in order to really make this movie the darkest Star Wars film there is out of the entire Skywalker saga. Do I believe that he will be able to do that? Not necessarily. I think that you really can't top Revenge of the Sith, because that really is as dark as you can get within the Star Wars franchise, at least in my belief. Now, on top of all of this, what's really intriguing has all to do with the opening sequence of The Rise of Skywalker, which seems to be the stronger point of the film based on, everything related to Kylo Ren, Palpatine, you name it. Now, specifically, shot descriptions consisting of a sequence where it's explained that Kylo Ren is said to arrive on the world of Exegol, where he lands his TIE fighter on the dead world located over in the unknown regions. It's explained that during this time, Kylo Ren steps out and ignites his lightsaber and makes his way into Palpatine's base. This is where Kylo takes an elevator down and begins to witness tons of tanks full of Snoke clones, where Palpatine's laughter can be heard in the distance. It's said that as Kylo approaches a man on his deathbed, connected to some strange device, Palpatine is said to have his arm hooked up to a large machine that allows him to stay alive. This machine is said to be a piece of equipment that Palpatine uses to keep his body alive, and that Palpatine in the beginning of the film is said to have white eyes, where he appears like a corpse, almost, that is talking to Kylo Ren. The sequence is said to be very creepy, where the lightning in the background reveals Palpatine's face to Kylo Ren, where there is even a segment in which Kylo Ren holds his lightsaber up to Palpatine's throat at one point in time as Kylo becomes startled by the figure of Sidious hooked up to this machine. This is where Sidious tells Kylo Ren that he wants to initiate his armada, and for him to search and find Rey, and warns Kylo Ren that she is not who he thinks she is. This is said to allude to that Rey is a Palpatine, where it's explained that in the film's opening scene, Palpatine states that he is Snoke, and he has been controlling Snoke from the very beginning to reach out to Kylo Ren from afar, since Palpatine cannot leave the world of Exegol. However, it's noted that the end of the first scene is said to involve Kylo Ren leaving Palpatine with his Sith loyalists, where Sidious begins to laugh at Kylo, saying the iconic line, "Good." So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, in case you guys did not know, The Rise of Skywalker is going to have segments like this, real dark elements in the story that some fans may like or dislike. And everything related to Palpatine being alive in the movie, I think, is something that a lot of fans are either going to have an issue with, or it's just going to blow over for some of the fans that do have a problem with it. Now, the thing about this is that we do know that The Rise of Skywalker is going to introduce all different types of canon lore that's going to explain a little bit more about Palpatine's survival after the second Death Star explosion. Now, the thing about that is that the actual specifics of how Palpatine survived won't be answered until the novelization releases in March of 2020, which almost seems like a cheap way by Disney to say, watch the movie so that you want to buy the book. That's what it almost comes off as, right? So I want to go over the very beginning here on the world of Exegol. Now, we've talked about the Snoke clones before in the past, but the thing that gets me is how Palpatine is said to be hooked up to this strange machine, and this machine is said to hook up to his arm and to his back, where his eyes are actually said to be white. So basically what they're doing is they're making Palpatine appear like a corpse, and his eyes are just dead white eyes. They're not the traditional yellow Sith eyes in the beginning of this movie until he actually rejuvenates himself, of course, but in the beginning of the film, his eyes are said to be white and look as if he is a corpse. That honestly sounds very creepy, and it almost sounds like the Palpatine that we're going to get in the very beginning of this film is going to look nothing like the Palpatine that we all know and love. This is going to be literally like a corpse of Palpatine talking to Kylo Ren, that the actual machine allows Sidious to live. So, the thing here is this machine, alright, it's actually said to hook up to his arm. It almost sounds like a dialysis machine, to really put it in simple terms there, is that Palpatine will have a small scene in the very beginning of this film. In fact, the opening of the movie is actually said to be rather brief between Kylo and Palpatine, where there is a segment where he goes over to Exegol, he sees the Snoke clones, and Palpatine unveils the secret about Rey, telling Kylo that, she is not exactly who she appears to be, and that she is really the granddaughter of Darth Sidious. So that's the very interesting thing about The Rise of Skywalker, is that when we look at episode 9 here, is that this movie really is going to have moments just like this, where it's going to leave the fans wondering, and I think that's not really the best thing to do. The fact that fans are going to wonder, how in the world is Palpatine alive? How is he still alive after the second Death Star explosion is a big question, right? That's the thing about this movie, is that this machine, by the way, that Palpatine is hooked up to, is also said to have a twist at some point in time in the movie and in the film's novelization. There's something more to the machine than we already know about that allows Palpatine to survive, to actually be able to communicate with Kylo and later on with Rey. And the fact that they are doing something to that extent of having Palpatine survive, in a way, where he's got to be hooked up to this machine, where he's going to later use the Force Conduit technique to suck the life force out of both Rey and Ben Solo to rejuvenate himself to appear just as he did in Revenge of the Sith. Does that mean he's going to look and appear as if he's a young man? Not really. But basically he's going to rejuvenate himself to where he appears just as he did when he fought Yoda in Revenge of the Sith, basically. So, the thing about episode 9 here, moving on forward, is that in the opening of the scene between Kylo and Palpatine, alright, the fact that he says, "I am Snoke," does parallel when he says, "I am the Senate." And everything related to that in that sense is that it kind of does parallel the prequel trilogy era, so you can see where J.J. Abrams is getting all of that from. Now, be aware that there are no lightsaber scenes for Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker, sadly. He will only be using Force lightning in the film, which I think some fans will be disappointed over. There are no lightsaber segments in The Rise of Skywalker, and that's one big mistake I think Disney made for a lot of the prequel trilogy fans that really like Palpatine as a character and really wanted to see more action related to him. Now, about the opening sequence, it's actually said to be a very dark and gritty scene where a lot of lightning storms are happening in the background, and as this all happens, Kylo Ren sees Palpatine each time there's a lightning strike. So every time there's a lightning strike, you have this flash of light revealing the creepy face of Palpatine with the white eyes and, more wrinkles on his face. That is the best way it's described, is that Palpatine looks like he is a corpse that's being kept alive by this machine. And that, I will add, sounds like something very strange. I'm not quite sure how the fans are going to react to that. I think a lot of fans out there may be a little concerned with how JJ is handling the character of Palpatine and exactly how everything really will unfold at the very beginning and the end of this movie and what it really is going to lead to. So, The Rise of Skywalker, like I say, this movie really has a lot going for it. A lot of fans have a lot of concerns based on what we have gone over, by all the different changes and the adjustments that they went through during the months of, October and August and all those different months where they reshot around, 30% of the film and changed all these different elements in and out. So, with that being said, the opening of the segment of the movie seems like it's going to be the stronger point of the film, since it is all based on Palpatine and Kylo Ren. So that's one thing that I think the fans will enjoy, is that it opens directly up to Palpatine's scene, and there's no kind of wasted material in the beginning of the film. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
night to move.